Yes, Nityanam, everybody, welcome back. So, as we are preparing ourselves for the live darshan, we're going to be learning about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the advent of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Sorry for the technical glitch. Yes, as we are learning about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was born on 3rd of January 1978 in the holy town of Tiruvannamalai in India. And on 17th of July 1981, at just the age of 3, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated into Bala Sannyas by the enlightened adepts and enlightened masters in Hinduism. The science of identifying incarnations is revealed very clearly in the Hindu tradition. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was identified as an incarnation at a very young age by Yogi Yogananda Puri. At the age of 16, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated to revive the Kailasa. As we can see in the photograph here, towards the left, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's Guru, Mata Vibhudananda Puri, has blessed the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with the Kamandalu and the Danda, which is given as an initiation to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And here we're looking at the early days where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, at a very young age itself, began the construction and revival of the entire mission of Sri Kailasa. As you can see, when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was very young, the temple monastic complex towards the left, his Guru Mata Vibhudananda Puri, he himself built brick by brick, following the instructions and the guidance of his Guru. Similarly, at the age of 23, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism constructed and established the first Adinam, or the temple monastic complex, the Kailasa temple, in Tiruchengodu Adinam on 14th of April 2001. And in the year 2002, on 4th of November, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism established the Adi Kailasa Sarvanya Peetham, which is the headquarters. Year 2004, at the age of 25, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism started conducting mass living enlightenment programs and conventions of the 7 energy bodies. As you can see in the photograph, there are huge amounts of crowds that started flocking in at a very young age itself. So these are the various establishments and the revival of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to establish Kailasa all around the world. As we can see, at the age of 27, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism conducted various high-class and high-end programs. Similarly, in the year 2010 also, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism continued to establish and create various mass enlightenment programs for the entire mass. On 18th of September 2015, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism initiated thousands into mass enlightenment in Kumbh Mela in Nasik. Similarly, on 5th of May 2016, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism initiated thousands into living enlightenment at the Kumbh Mela festival in Ujjain in India. Here is a brief coronation, the various, as we can look at right now. These are the various coronations of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. At the tender age of 10, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated and ordained as the 233rd Guru Mahasanidhanam of Kanchi Kailasa Sarvanya Peetham. following which he was coronated as the incumbent emperor of the Suryavamsa Surangi Samrajyam, then the present 23rd Guru Mahasannidhanam of the Dharmamukti Swargapuram Adinam. He was also coronated as the 293rd Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam of the Madurai Shyamala Pita Sarvanya Pitam and coronated as the Mahamandaleshwar of the Mahanirvani Akhada. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is also the 1008th Acharya Mahamandaleshwar of the Atal Akhada, and ultimately was elected as a Supreme Pontiff by a huge number of mass number of leaders, Hindu spiritual leaders, with over 1,000 Hindu leaders and pontiffs. Here we're looking at an introduction to the sovereign state of Sri Kailasa, also the United States of Kailasa. Kailasa itself is a macrocosmic, ancient, enlightened Hindu civilizational nation, whose very vision is to live enlightenment and providing this science for the entire humanity. The mission of Kailasa is to revive and share the today's world practical applications of the greatest science that the authentic Hinduism has to contribute to the entire world, be it the science in the Hindu cosmic physics, Hindu alchemy, Hindu cosmology, Hindu biology, in various other topics and categories. At one point in time, there were over 56 nations that practiced all of these truths and this enlightenment science, but now has been facing an extinction due to the persecution of Hinduism over a millennium. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has also initiated over 1,008 Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations initiatives that are directly in relation with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So as you can see, various initiatives has been taken towards women empowerment, towards empowering the indigenous communities, protecting them, Sri Kailasa's Uniting Nations against cyber terrorism, and so on. Here we're looking at the photographs taken from the No Hungry Home initiative. Some began right from the time he started the public life over the last 27 years. We have 1 billion plus meals that have been served over the last 27 years. And the Hindu ASMT community, which is the Adi Saivite minority tradition, has served more than 3 meals in religious gatherings to everyone without any discrimination of caste, without any of that. And even till date, we have 10,000 meals every single day, completely free of cost. And these numbers hit up to over 100,000 on festival days. You can all have a look at the various photos that are there. As we all know, the COVID pandemic took a huge toll on each and every one of our life and on the entire world in a global range. During the pandemic, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism converted every monastery campus into a multi-layer quarantine facility for all the participants and all the people from around the world. Free food, free internet access, free shelter, free clothing, everything was given free for all, regardless of any differences in age, gender, caste, creed, ethnicity, color, or socioeconomic status. And 30 million citizens followed the Kailasa's 28-day spiritual regimen in 2020 to protect themselves from the COVID pandemic. And here we're looking at an introduction to the Nityananda Hindu University. The Nityananda Hindu University was established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and it is the world's largest Hindu university. The Nityananda Gurukul, established on October of 2nd, 2006 by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, is the stepping stone towards the revival of the ancient Adi Shaivite Gurukul Guru-disciple education system. It's an authentic knowledge transmission system based on the science of enlightenment. Looking at the numbers, as you can see, over 20 million students have enrolled with over 7,000 free courses and extended campuses in over 150 countries. And these are the photographs of the Nityananda Jnanalaya and the Hinduismpedia, which is the contribution in the field of library. As we know, in every tradition, it is the knowledge that is the main, that is the base. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has established the Nityananda Hindu Jnanalaya to collect and preserve the 1 million plus Hindu scriptures that are there. to ensure that all of this knowledge is preserved, protected, digitized, and shared to all for free. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself has authored over 10,000 books in 3 languages. These have also been translated into 50 languages. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has also published over 10,000 articles and given over 10,000 plus free discourses, which have hit over 1 billion views. The Kailasas Hinduismpedia is a collection of more than 15 terabyte of digital books and rare manuscripts from all the 19 Sarvanyapitams, which are the ancient mutts and the authentic traditions from around India and the other parts of the world. 1 million pages of Hinduism and 22,000 digital books have been there. And these are the photographs, as we can see, where the peace conclaves and confluences have been held for the global peace and religious harmony by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. As we can look in the photos right now, this is just one incident where in 2009, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism organized for a month-long peace walk covering 1,000 kilometers and 10,000 villages in India to bring to all walks of life and promote a feeling connection between all the people. And health camp and healthcare systems were provided to all the participants and all the villagers and the citizens completely free of cost during this entire time. And here we're looking at the women empowerment initiatives by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as part of the Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for the Feminine Empowerment and Gender Equality. Kailasa's Yogini Sarvanyapitam established the yoga and the meditation universities to empower the very quality of the life for the women, and emphasis of solutions that have been provided by Paramashiva in our Vedagamic scriptures towards empowering women. And some of these initiatives include Kailasa's Nityananda Lakshmi, which is a microfinancing service. We have Kailasa's Women Foundation and Women Empowerment Self-Help Centers. And this has been launched in over 108 places around the world since the year 2009. We also have Kailasa's and the Kailasa's Ashray program. And here we're looking at the Nityananda Yoga. This is one of the greatest achievements established by Kailasa and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, making yoga as a very lifestyle, the authentic yoga as per the scriptures. At this point in time, we are seeing so many different types of yoga that have come up. Yoga that has been practiced and that has been revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is completely scientific, at the same time validated through the Shastras, which is the authentic Hindu scriptures. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived over 108 scientifically validated kriyas that target various health disorders and health problems, starting from arthritis, diabetes, blood pressure, and so on. Similarly, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has also revived two ancient traditional forms of yoga, which is the Nityananda Shivastamba Yoga and the Kundalini Rajju Yoga, which is performing the yoga on the pole and the rope. As you can see in the photos that are there, we have also established 2 Guinness World Records on September 30th and October 3rd, 2017. While all of this is happening, despite being continuously and heavily persecuted for over a decade, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism continues to be unwavered in his intention, his commitment, and action in building the only Hindu nation, which is the United States of Kailasa, to protect, to revive, and to preserve Hinduism, which is the most ancient, most peaceful, still living, and long-lasting demonstrable system that shows the max human possibility and the peaceful coexistence amongst all the people. So this is a brief introduction to each and every one of you, where we have seen the various initiatives by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the establishment of Sri Kailasa, the sovereign state of Sri Kailasa, which is the ancient enlightened Hindu civilizational nation and the first nation of Hindus that is led by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Presented, Sri Kailasa had spoken on behalf of the 2 billion global Hindu diaspora at the 14th session of the United Nations Forum on the minority issues. As you can see, the permanent ambassador to the United Nations from Sri Kailasa, representing in the United Nations. As we are looking at the various initiatives taken by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, we also have to know and look at the amount of persecution that has being taunted upon the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, with over 70 assassination attempts on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, 40 attacks on the community members, destruction of monasteries and temples, with over 60 incidents of attacks, molestation, rape, and so on women and women monks, and intense lawfare via over 100 false legal cases, all but are dismissed completely, and intersectional persecution using the entirely owned media, police, judiciary, and the various politicians. So this being a brief introduction to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the various initiatives taken by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and the persecution on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. If you want to learn more, and if you want to learn and become part of Sri Kailasa, you can head over to kailasa.org to learn more in detail about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the various recognitions received by various statesmen around the world, and the persecution over the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So you can head over kailasa.org where you can learn about this. And you can also enroll yourself to become an e-citizen. We are having the scroll down below. So you can register yourself for the e-citizen where you get the various initiatives and you can become part of Sri Kailasa. So with that, we're coming towards the brief introduction. We learned about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Sri Kailasa. Break, we are going to go over to experience and to witness, which is one of the various branches of Hinduism revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. It's going to be a glimpse of what each and every one of you can manifest after receiving the Bhava Samadhi Darshan that we're all preparing for to receive in a couple of hours from now. So let us all join together after a short break. Thank you.
Understand, literally last 39 years from the age of 5, whatever Paramashiva manifested through teaching, speaking, writing, every way, condensing the whole thing and presenting it to you all as experientially in these 21 days through this Jnana Charya, Jnana Kriya, Jnana Yoga, Jnana is Mahaparamashivoham. Lifestyle for just Paramashiva. Rituals to be just Paramashiva. Yoga for just being Paramashiva. Jnana, just Paramashiva. This Mahaparamashivoham is like literally the ultimate journey in a most safest way. Understand, literally last 39 years from the age of 5, whatever Paramashiva manifested through teaching, speaking, writing, every way, condensing the whole thing and presenting it to you all as experientially in these 21 days through this Jnana Charya, Jnana Kriya, Jnana Yoga, Jnana Jnana is Mahaparamashivokam. Lifestyle for just Paramashiva. Rituals to be just Paramashiva. For just being Paramashiva. Jnana, just Paramashiva. This Mahaparamashivokam is like literally the ultimate journey in a most safest way. Understand, literally last 39 years from the age of 5, whatever Paramashiva manifested through teaching, speaking, writing, every way, condensing the whole thing and presenting it to you all as experientially in these 21 days through this Jnana Charya, Jnana